Taurus, welcome to Aries season. This is your season ahead horoscope from Embodied Astrology. My name is Renee. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I have a delicious cup of tea. I just ate lunch. I feel like I'm ready to talk to Taurus. So this is not a predictive horoscope. This is an offering to the landscape of Aries season and how I feel it coming through for Taurus identified individuals. That includes your sun, moon, and rising signs. Everybody has Taurus in their chart. So if you know which house Taurus rules for you, and if you have any natal planets or points there, you can also listen through the lens of those placements. This is a general reading. Please take what works, leave the rest. My mission is to offer some sensations, what I'm sensing, what I'm picking up, coming up in Aries season, and then also to give you some somatic tools that you can work with. This means your body, your breath, your felt sense, ways to center and connect to your inner resources and inner strength to keep you steady through the challenges and make the most of the opportunities. All right, well, Aries season is the season that comes before yours, and that means that while it is the beginning of the new zodiacal year, it's also the end of your solar year, and your birthday season is coming up next. So when we are in that place of the solar year and the birthday season is coming up next, and that includes the new solar year for rising signs, moon signs, etc., there's often just a lot of introspection and a feeling of needing to take stock and reflect. There might be more of an internal and kind of quiet beingness. There's a lot that's happening in Aries season and a lot of activity. Aries as an energy is a very active energy. And so your internal space over Aries season, I think, is a very full and really needs you to give it time and give it space so that you can work out whatever it is that you are working out. I think a lot of you have a lot that's going on right now. And this could be a lot that you're tracking mentally, emotionally, a lot that's happening in your body, mind. Many of you are definitely well aware and affected by what's happening in the world. And so on a collective level, you might be feeling sensitive and needing to process and absorb and metabolize and kind of just be with what is coming up. So I want to take a moment and tune in with the ways that Aries resonates in our bodies and felt sense. And again, everyone has Aries in their chart, just like everyone has Taurus in their chart. And the place that the sign of Aries is said to govern in the body is the place where we feel, or many of us, I can definitely say that I feel the most strongest sense of I amness. And so this sense of existence and ego, self-awareness or self-identity, for many of us lives up in the head. And our faces are one of the places where we are most easily recognized as individuals. This is where we're doing a lot of nonverbal communication and connection. The front parts of our brains are the parts of our brains that in some ways are the most egotistical. They are doing the job of planning and mapping our actions and recognizing the impact of our past actions and consequences. The I feeling tends to take up a lot of space in the front part of the brain, and all the different ways that we are navigating our lives through the experience of being individuals. When Aries as an energy pattern gets activated, a lot of us actually get more narrowly focused, and you can probably imagine this or connect to these kinds of sensations if you just remember a circumstance in your life where you had a strong feeling of either wanting something for yourself or not wanting something for yourself, attraction, aversion, if there's a threat or if there's a desire. And what we tend to do is narrow our focus around whatever the threat or whatever the desire might be. And then inside of that narrow focus, there can be a strong sense of self-awareness. I want, I don't want, and also other awareness, like, oh, that thing is a threat to me, or I really want that. And in that eye feeling state and the narrowed focus, literally sometimes our brow can become narrowed, the space between our eyes can become more condensed, the tissue of our eyeballs themselves can become activated, and you might know the feeling in your own body of, perceiving a threat and your eyes actually, get a feeling in them. It's like, get away from me. Or you see something that you like and the eyes kind of get a feeling in them, and we can have a reaching kind of quality in our eyes, or defensive blocking quality in our eyes. And the eyes are totally connected to our nervous systems and our brains. And so the strong Aries sensation, eye feeling, also has a nervous system coordination. Our muscular bodies tend to get ready for action. Sometimes stress hormones get released through the endocrine system, or our heart rate goes up, or something like that. Everybody has their own kinds of experiences with these sensations, so I want to invite you to tune in to anything that resonates for you, just in general, as a quality or felt sense that you are familiar with. And now I'm just going to offer that where Aries exists for the Taurus solar charts is in the place of what's unseen. And what's unseen could include so many things. It can include dreams and fantasies. It can include the atmosphere. The air that you're breathing, right, is not something that you can see, but you're totally affected by it. This place can also have a lot to do with the unconscious realms, and that includes the collective unconscious or the relational unconscious. And therefore, it's also very much connected to intuition, psychicness, and what might not be as glamorous as intuition or psychicness, but I would just say sensitivity to vibes. And vibes can be environmental and relational. There can be a vibe to a building, just like there can be a vibe to a person or a group of people. Now, Taurus as an energy is an energy that's really concentrated on life and the fertility and the growth and stability and goodness of life, and therefore on survival and on thriving, ideally. So it makes sense that Taurian people would be sensitive in intuitive and sometimes kind of psychic, spidey sense ways to any kind of perceived threat in the environment, and also to where there are opportunities for pleasure and thriving. And that in ways that are maybe not even conscious and certainly not volitional, Taurus can get pretty focused on what it wants or what it doesn't want. And in kind of an unconscious and energetic way, then the focus can become narrow. And so when people talk about Taurus being stubborn, this is one of the things that maybe they're talking about because of where Aries exists in your chart. There's a very clear embodied energetic pattern around locating and identifying what you want and what you don't want. So this season of Aries season is not only a season in 2025 that is bringing the sun into this placement, therefore illumination, energy, and growth. We also have 2 retrogrades starting off in Aries this year of Mercury and Venus. They will both be moving back into Pisces in Aries season. Mercury and Venus will also both be stationing direct in Pisces, and then in your season coming back into Aries, and then eventually into your sign. And we have a solar eclipse coming up in Aries. The outer planet Eris is here. The centaur planet Chiron is here. So there's a lot that's happening in what I'm going to say is kind of a both subtle and pervasive energetic space for Taurus that also is a little unconscious. And the feeling that I have here is that something is rumbling and grumbling underneath the surface, And you can feel it in the sense that you are being activated, you're being motivated. There's a kind of like heating quality. It's almost like, the water is about to boil. We're getting some like bubbles and agitation moving towards the surface, but you still are not yet entirely sure what is about to happen. All right, so to come back to this lens of somatic awareness and bodily awareness, I want to invite you to tune in with your face and your brain, and especially this front part of your brain and the upper part of your face. And the Aries energetic kind of location is from the nose upwards to the dome of the skull. And the Taurus energetic location is from the jaw downwards, including the neck, throat, shoulders. And as you tune into this place, I want to invite you to actually really consciously try to relax. And you can try to relax your brain. Use your mind to relax your brain. One way that I think about this is actually letting my brain relax to the back of my skull. And sometimes it feels helpful to track the sensation of breath as it comes in through my nostrils, up into my sinuses. And then as I exhale, I might imagine that any tension or stress, planning, noise that's happening in that front part of my brain could just melt, relax and release, and maybe even send it all the way back down to earth or all the way into the back of my head and into the space behind me, just letting it dissipate. So I want to invite you to take a couple of breaths with me. And not everybody can breathe through their nose all the time. So if that doesn't feel possible, you can also just notice the top of your inhale and feel the way that breath moves upwards into your head. And then as you exhale, try and consciously relax your brain. Relax the space between your eyes and your eyebrows. Relax your eyeballs. Feel the back of your head and the back of your skull. Let any tension that might reside in the base of the skull release, if possible, any amount. Okay, let's take one more breath like that. So as you inhale, either through your mouth or through your nose, tracking the sensation of your breath into your head. Consciously relaxing the front of your brain, your eyeballs, the space between your eyes, your cheekbones, your jaw joint. Imagining that any mental tension can dissolve and dissipate, melting through the back of your head, melting down through the length of your spine, giving that tension back to pure potentiality, letting it move off into the atmosphere as just energy. Okay? And notice how that feels. Not everybody has an immediate felt sense of breath or meditation. I know for me, that exercise, even just the 3 or 4 breaths I took with you, resulted in a calmer state for me. And I feel like I have a little less noise happening through my brain and a little more groundedness or breath in my body. So if you felt anything that even gave a hint of that kind of relaxation or calmness, my beautiful Taurus friends, please continue to practice this kind of breathing, meditation, and mindfulness throughout Taurus season and, throughout Aries season and into the rest of your year. And maybe just make it a life practice for the foreseeable future. This is a somatic tool you can use at any point, no matter what the situation is, if you remember it. There's a lot that is happening in Aries over the course of 2025 and moving into the future that are setting up some longer term cycles, taking us all the way to 2038. And therefore, you, my friends, are on a curriculum path of at least, the next 30 days, if not the next 13 years, of making psychic space for yourself, creating space in your energy field. And the more that you adopt practices and do things, breathe, meditate, learn about how your central nervous system functions and ways that you can calm and regulate your mind, the more effective you are going to be in every area of your life, and the more discerning and intuitive and psychic you're going to be. And this means that you are going to have a lot more clarity, quick clarity when it comes to things like relationships, or how you want to spend your time, or what you want to be bringing into your body, bringing into your mind, how you want to be doing the work that you have to do in the world. And these are some of the themes that I definitely see coming up in Aries season. So let's get into it. This season starts on March 20th with the vernal equinox. That's the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere, the beginning of autumn in the southern hemisphere. This is a period of time where seasons are shifting. And this point in the year marks the beginning of a new zodiacal year. And Aries as an energy is about freshness, newness, new beginnings, fresh starts. And this year in particular, as I just mentioned, we have some longer cycles beginning. The first of which begins on March 30th with the entry of the outer planet Neptune into Aries. Now, I talk a lot about this in your 2025 year ahead readings. Those are great resources to really get a big picture of what's happening for you in 2025 and beyond. I'm not going to talk so much about Neptune right now, but I definitely encourage you to check those readings out. We also have a solar eclipse and new moon on March 29th in Aries as well. So the first 10 days of Aries season, from the equinox on the 20th until the 30th of March, bring in a lot of energy for newness and new beginnings. A lot of people might feel motivated, activated. They might have sensations of, oh, I'm different now. Things are new, and I'm going to be turning the page on some kind of chapter in my life. Now, for you, Taurus, because of where this is happening, I think that this is still a little bit unconscious for you. I think that you're actually really getting to these new beginnings once the retrogrades are over and we've actually entered into Taurus season. But I do think that a lot of you have this kind of feeling internally, like what I was saying a while ago. The water is coming to a boil right now. Things are starting to get activated and agitated. And I think a lot of you might have sensations of wanting something new and not quite being sure what it is yet. Now, there are indicators in your chart to me that feel like you want, in some ways, a new future for yourself. A lot of you have been on some kind of path for a long time now. We're going to say the near and the distant past. And for whatever reasons and in whatever ways, it seems to be that you have completed some significant part of your growth and development, and that path that you were on is now turning into a new path. You are ready for some new directions. And the ways that you are seeing your future open up in front of you are shifting. And for a lot of you, you've put in a lot of work, and you might have a feeling of not wanting to let go of some of the old ways that you were thinking about what your future could entail and what it would include. And you're starting to sense that there are some limitations there. So this could be anything from a sense of identity that you thought you were working towards. Let's say you thought you were on a career path and you were going to be a lawyer. And now you're like, actually, I'm not wanting to do that anymore. But what should I do instead? Because I just studied law for like 2 decades or something like that. Some of you might have been in a significant relationship and you saw your future with this other person doing particular things, and for whatever reason now that's changing. So there's a sense here of needing to be with the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, and maybe for some of you, resentment, frustration, feeling of lost cost, and kind of like unknown in terms of what is coming next. And if you are having those kinds of feelings that I just mentioned, I feel that it is very important for you to give space to those feelings. You need grieving processes. You need mourning rituals. There might be some way that you actually have to acknowledge to yourself the challenge of those feelings and the grief within them, and then do something for yourself that symbolically actually lets it go and puts it to rest. Now, I think a lot of you can also feel that regardless of something potentially changing and the future looking different now, you have a lot of skills. You have a lot that you have built. There is a foundation actually, and you don't need to throw everything away just because something might be shifting or not going in the direction you thought it would X amount of years ago, doesn't mean that it's not going somewhere. And this is actually a moment of an evolutionary portal, is what I'm feeling, calling you onto a new path. And I want to say, Taurus, that you are exactly in the right place, and that a lot of times the new beginnings actually feel like a loss. And the feelings of frustration and resentment and fatigue and sadness, or feeling like, oh God, no matter how much I put work into something, it just doesn't work out. Those kinds of feelings are teachers right now. And so part of your work is to inquire into the narratives that are coming up and the stories that are here, but actually feel into them a little more deeply. And I'm about to say something that some of you aren't going to like, but I'm going to say it anyway because I feel it. It is only up to us as individuals to do what we can with our pain. It is only up to us. We are the only ones who can take responsibility for transforming the challenges that we have experienced. And if we don't do that work, if we allow ourselves to nurture resentment and frustration and feeling like, oh, nothing ever works out for me, and so I'm not even going to try, that's also on us. That's our choice. That's our responsibility. My feeling is that something needs to change in your life. You've hit the limit. You've hit some kind of boundary. You actually cannot invest in certain directions anymore, and therefore you need to do something else. And some of you have already been feeling this for some time, and this is already old news, and you're actually already embracing the new path and opening up to the possibilities there. Now, the possibilities that I feel for you come from working well with your pain, disappointment, and frustration. So these are possibilities that are born out of having better boundaries for yourself, knowing what you stand for, understanding what your actual values are and what you really want to invest in. Some of you have felt super disappointed with friends or communities or big ideas that you had for how some kind of project would work out or how it would feel to be a part of some kind of group or organization. If you have been feeling disappointed and like your dreams that you had, kind of got deflated, it is now your work to clarify the lessons of that disappointment, because it is teaching you something. So some of you need to learn about the ways that you project optimism and opportunity and unicorns and rainbows and sparkles onto certain circumstances or ideas about people or who people might be. Some of you are really needing to look at the ways that, I'm going to say, you were like a little bit in love with an idea of what you could be. And that idea gave a lot to you. And part of what it gave you is clarity that that idea is actually not who you want to be. And that's a win. Okay, so just because there's been disappointment, just because there's been loss, just because you might feel frustrated or like you haven't been able to do something that you wanted to do, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. I think that a lot of you are actually experiencing wins right now, but you have to do the reframe to see it like that, because boundaries, discipline, clarity about what you want and what you don't want, more discernment, and I'm going to say good judgment about who people are, what kinds of people you want to, be around, what kinds of people are giving you red flags, and like, you need to know that this is helpful for you. These are wins. This is learning. This is evolution and progress. So on March 29th, when we have the solar eclipse and new moon in Aries, and then the next day Neptune moves into Aries, this feels like a lot of energy for you to start dreaming a new dream. There's some kind of boldness and courage and instinct or impulse towards action that is beginning to emerge in your consciousness and spirit. And my Taurian loves, you need to trust that. There is something that is emerging for you that also specifically has to do with your voice and how you use your mind and your attention and your communication. You are a powerful being. The fixed signs are all natural leaders. Taurus, as an energetic potential, rules the gateway of the voice. Your voice is so important right now, and something is getting clarified for you about how you want and need to use it. And the feeling that I have is that it is up to you right now to pick up your courage and affirm yourself and do what you can and what you need to do to help fortify and invigorate you, and really start to feel into the longing that you have. And the feeling that I have is to say something or to express in certain ways. I think that a lot of you really deeply care about something, and this sentiment wants to be expressed. And so I'm saying voice and I'm saying speak or write, but you might be an artist, you might be a musician, you might be a gardener, you might be a chef. And so the ways that you express yourself do not only have to be linguistic and vocal, but there is something here about transmission and communication. It's like you want to be moved, you are being moved, and you want to move others. And there's a quality of purposefulness and, dare I say, warriorship that I feel coming into your spirit that wants to be realized and embodied. Now, the first half of April, we are moving towards the full moon in Libra. Libra is Aries' opposite sign. And when we connect with Libran energy, it's another way to really help ourselves if our Aries parts are getting a little excessive or imbalanced. So Libra is another Venus-ruled sign like Taurus, and it's a very different kind of energy than Taurus, but it also has some important similarities. And when you work with Libran practices, you are really taken care of. So what does Libran practice include? Well, one way that you can practice with Libra, like we did with Aries, is to tune in your body. According to medical astrology and embodied astrology, Libra lives in your kidney region and low back. So if you cross your forearms behind you, or if you take your palms to your low back and you feel for the space that's about your lower ribs or your belly button area, now you might try breathing into this space in your body. And your lungs actually go down pretty much this far in the back. And so you can literally breathe into your back. And as you inhale, I want to invite you to try and spread and expand the tissues of your low back. And if you happen to know where your kidneys are, or you can sense them at the right and the left sides of your spine, around the height of your bottom ribs, you might think about breathing into this space so much that your back could like puff up. You could expand your back body. And then just as we did when we were breathing into our heads, as you exhale, imagine the downward flow of your exhale. You might imagine that you are underneath a waterfall, and as you exhale, the cooling cascade of the waterfall is moving down your body and towards the earth. And as you breathe into your back body, you are also breathing into your kidneys. Your adrenal glands are on top of your kidneys. And this kind of breath can really help our bodies regulate and facilitate calmness and peace. And when we're working with Libra as an energy, we also are really benefited by noticing beauty and feeling the sensations of noticing beauty. And for me, a sensation when I notice beauty is gratitude and appreciation. And anything that might bring a slight smile to your lips could be a Libran kind of thing. And so inviting in awareness of beauty as you breathe into your back, as you facilitate peace in your own body. And noticing how that feels. Okay, so I really want to invite you to work with these somatic practices, especially if they resonate and feel helpful for you. Again, definitely throughout Aries season and maybe for the rest of your life. Now, through the first half of April, there is a lot that I think you are trying to work out. There's some places in your life that really need some revision and reconsideration. These places definitely include your plans for the future. They definitely include your relationships, especially with friends, with organizations, with networks that you might be involved in. There are also ways that you are observing the world right now and what's happening in the collective atmosphere that want you to not come out of yourself in your noticing, but also not blockade yourself to noticing them. And whatever it is that might catch your attention on any given day when it comes to the larger world, there's so much happening politically, environmentally, socially. And so much of what's happening is truly devastating, truly heartbreaking, and outrageous. And there are a lot of reasons why all of us probably are activated and need to be. And when we get very activated, we can leave ourselves pretty rapidly. And again, that sense of activation, especially when there's an urgency or a hastiness and a narrowing of the focus, can also create a sensation of isolation and strong senses of polarity and difference. And this can lead to increased conflict and unnecessary conflict in our lives. And so one of the ways that we can help ourselves and be of service in the world right now is by practicing regulating our own energy and noticing where beauty is, practicing gratitude and appreciation for what is beautiful and what is regulating, and really trying to tend what's good as we also turn our attention towards what could be better. Now, this is very strongly a feeling I have for you in the first 2 weeks of April as we move towards the full moon in Libra. I really don't want you to be urgent about whatever your projects are, about whatever you're trying to figure out. Some of you are trying to map out your future or your future plans in some ways. Some of you are going through stress with relationships. It is not going to be of service to you if you get urgent, if you get hasty, if you get anxious and upset. The best way for you to work out your plans, to discern what you want and what you need, to prepare yourself for any kinds of challenging conversations that you might need to have, and also to support yourself while you make decisions that may be challenging. Because as I mentioned already, some of you are needing to leave certain situations. You are clarifying that they are not giving you what you want and what you need, and there may be a sense of loss there. So please breathe into your back body. Please nourish your Libran sensibilities by noticing beauty and giving appreciation and gratitude to what is beautiful to you, what comes into your consciousness as worthy of your appreciation and gratitude. Now, I'll say especially that for those of you who are going through challenging times with friends, networks, or organizations that you are a part of, it is definitely helpful for you to notice what's not working, what you don't like, and what you don't want, but don't dwell on it. Use your attention instead to notice what you do like, maybe in other people or other places. If you don't have actual examples that you can connect with in reality or in your day-to-day reality, imagine them. Spend time meditating on the feeling that you know is possible, that you know that you want in your connections with others, and bring that into your body as a situation that could be present right now through your felt sense. See if you can breathe into it. A lot of you really want to have the experience of ease and feeling seen and witnessed and loved for who you are. You need to do that for yourself. Breathe into your back body. Feel that you can rest into the space behind you. Imagine a loving presence holding the space at your back, saying it is okay to let go a little bit. It is okay to rest. You are beautiful. You are worthy. There is so much to appreciate in this world. For those of you that are trying to figure out your future plans, don't be scared about them. Don't stress out about them. Don't get into scarcity mindsets about your time, your energy, your money, your resources. What you're trying to figure out will work out for you in the best possible ways if you allow the flow of your life to bring you into the right directions. How do you allow the flow of your life to bring you into those directions, Taurus? You relax and go with the flow. So breathe into your back, notice what's beautiful, notice what's good. When you're trying to make decisions about where you want to go and who you want to go with, make those decisions from a place of gratitude and appreciation. Try and resonate through your body with what feels most aligned with your evolving energy. These are the directions that you want to grow. Venus is stationing direct with the full moon on April 12th. This is bringing a lot of clarity for some of you about these themes that I just mentioned. As the full moon blossoms and Venus stations direct, notice what you're noticing. Notice what clarity is coming through. The last week of Aries season brings a lot of fire energy into the collective charts. And then as we move towards Taurus season, we have increasing amounts of fire and fixed sign energy, and this is boosting your conviction. This is boosting your strength. This is boosting your courage to take whatever the next steps are. But over the course of Aries season, a lot of you need to slow down. You need to really give time and space to be with your feelings. You need to map out the changes that are happening for you in your energetic resonance so that you can more clearly get matched with the circumstances, situations, and relationships that can meet you in the ways that you are growing. Okay, Taurus, I'm going to leave it there. If you enjoy this horoscope and find it beneficial, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The number one way to support this work is to share it. So please share it with some friends. Embodied astrology is so much more than these horoscopes. We do all kinds of things every month, like our special conversation on March 22nd with the astrologer and activist Laura Chung. She will be joining me for a really special event. Laura is a researcher of revolutions and astrology, and she's going to be looking at the astrology of revolutions in history and the astrology of right now. As some of you know, or maybe you can imagine, current astrology is very revolutionary. It's all about rebellion. It is all about shifting the status quo and creating a different kind of world and future. And astrology is one technology that we can use for those of us who are world makers and shapers. And if you feel that this is part of what you're here to do, I really hope that you will join us on March 22nd. We have other things going on throughout the month, and you can find all of our links in the show notes below or at embodiedastrology.com. Taurus, I'm wishing you all the best in Aries season and beyond. Bye for now.